Clean Freaks. It's Hank Balch in the studio with Jeffrey Paquet, our water quality expert here at Beyond Clean for 2024. And Jeff, we've had a terrific series so far already going through these topics of multidisciplinary groups, tracking your water quality plan, actually creating a plan, talking about alerts and alarms and corrective actions is what we ended the last episode on. And today we're going to kind of take a step back and maybe a higher level view of, hey, something kind of, I'll say cataclysmic has happened in our space. It has not happened for a long time. There's been these new guidelines. Everyone know, no surprise, ST108 has come. And then we got this industry assumptions and traditional approaches to water are maybe not a lot of attention or as much attention as maybe there should have been to water. And now they're coming in contact with one another. And that's obviously having implications for everything that we've been talking about so far. It's been having implications for innovation in the space, for education and whatnot. And so we're going to spend a couple of minutes here today just kind of telling that story a little bit and contextualizing again what we've already said and then what we're going to close the series out in the next couple of episodes. So welcome back into the studio today.
Thank you very much.
So, let's start back maybe. There was a document out there before ST108 that was kind of, maybe not the Bible at that point, but it was some interesting insights and perspectives that folks were using to get us closer to the goal. What was that document and how was it functioning out there on both sides of the equation, kind of on the vendor support equation, but then also from the inside clinical equation?
Right. So the document we're talking about is TIR 34. Probably most people are familiar with that. And TIR 34 was just it was a guideline, and it what it tried to do was summarize sort of best practices for doing this, setting some sort of expectations around water quality. But it was kind of consolidated opinions, some of it not necessarily all validated by science. It was more like, industry knowledge that was passed along. So and to try to make it, distill it down into a water quality management plan could be challenging because it was often places where you had conflicting information. So fast forward, and so what people basically did is they focused on critical water, even though utility water was important, and they basically focused on the fact that they had it, and they often ignored the testing. Some people tested, some people did not test. But basically, it sort of distilled down to, you went to your water purification vendor and said, I've got to comply with this. Can you put me in a system that complies with this? They said, sure, we've got it right here. They put it in, and no questions asked after that.
Okay. So that was, current state. And a little bit of a Wild West, so there were people paying attention. There was some information out there, like you said, there was discussion and interest in creating best practices. But until ST108 came out, like you said, there wasn't really a concrete plan or a vision for, but how do you take this from these ideas and insights and really put it into practice in the average healthcare facility? So what has been the response to date from ST108?
Well, I think there's been a lot of concern.
Okay.
Because as you delve into it, and it carries more weight now that it's a standard,
right,
and not just a guideline. And though it's not a regulatory standard, it's like ST79 or ST98 or the other AAMI standards that we follow in the department. So it does carry some weight. And although I don't think the Joint Commission has begun surveying on it, they will over time. They may give people some time to try to get their act together on it, but it's going to happen. So they, what you see is that there is a lot of work involved in maintaining good quality water. There's some areas that we never thought about that we should be concerned about, like utility water. There's many places that don't have good utility water and don't do anything about it. And so there's just a lot of meat there to the standard that people have to delve into. And what they're surprised by is, gee, I really should be disinfecting my critical line every month. I've got to test water every month, and then every quarter I've got to test the water that's coming out of my sinks. I got to test my steam quality. What's this about? So,
are you seeing in conversations out there with maybe the facility side or even sterile processing, I guess, as well, as they're kind of waking up and saying, okay, hey, we got this new standard and we want to be compliant with it. We want to start moving in that direction because it is going to be a journey and there's going to be learning and progress along the way. But is there a temptation or maybe a common response that says, hey, we outsourced our water, years ago. It's TIR 34 compliant. We hadn't had any complaints. We're not seeing spikes in SSIs. What's the big deal, guys?
Well, there's certainly, some of that in the industry. And I think most primary care hospitals are taking it pretty seriously. I think, surgery centers, ASCs, not as associated with hospitals, maybe a little less seriously. Like, hey, we don't have to comply with this. But I see general diligence in trying to understand this new standard and how it's going to help you. Because ultimately the standard was written to reduce the cost of your operation. You are going to spend more money in the department on managing water, but you're already spending 10 times that much dealing with the effects of bad water.
Right.
In most cases. So.
You kind of mentioned this offhand, but I think this is a good takeaway from this conversation in particular is under ST108, the days of outsourcing the responsibility completely to someone else is gone. It's built into that multidisciplinary, going back to episode 1, that has been a constant theme. There's no such thing as just getting the water headaches out of our facility and someone else is going to deal with that, because it's that team, it's the sampling, it's the corrective action, it's the feedback. All of those things have to be working in tandem in order to be anywhere near compliance with what these guidelines are asking us to do. So that's a great point. So Jeff, we're going to bring you back for the next episode, talking about gap analysis in our water systems and our water management programs. And we're going to kind of compare and contrast with the risk assessment, the risk analysis that we talked about a couple of episodes ago, and continue to move this forward as we get here to episode 12 that we're going to wrap at the end of the season. Got a couple more episodes between now and then. This is just episode 8. So if you're jumping in the middle of this series, this is the first one that you happen to catch, hey, we got a lot of other great conversation that's already happened. And as I mentioned, we got a couple more fantastic topics to cover in this water quality system. But as you know, you haven't picked up on it yet. This is an ongoing conversation. You're not going to get everything that you need to know about building your program in this one video or even this one series. And so I would encourage you, if you got questions out of these conversations, reach out and connect to Jeffrey through LinkedIn. We're going to have his contact information in the show notes of this show. And you can track down all the other episodes, plus all of his written content in previous Water Quality Expert series on the BeyondCleanMedia.com website. So go check that out if you haven't already. And as we wrap here, I want to encourage you, like we do every week here at Beyond Clean, to keep fighting dirty.